The more than year-long continued devastating assault on Gaza has been horrific in many ways, basically all of the ways that a conflict like this could be. But today on TDR, we want to focus on one group that has been attacked in near record levels, and that is journalists on the ground in Gaza, trying to make sure that people know what's actually happening there. And 2024 was one of the deadliest years for journalists on record, not only in Gaza, but kind of specifically and especially in Gaza. So the International Federation of Journalists reports that more than 50% of journalist deaths took place in the Middle East and Arab world, many due to Israeli airstrikes. Overall, 122 journalists were killed there in 2024. Up from 104 that had been reported up until December 10th. So just in the last couple of weeks, 9 more journalists were killed in Gaza, 2 more journalists were killed in Syria, and specifically in Gaza, I believe since the conflict began, more than 160 have been killed. That's a lot of deaths in general, but of one specific occupation, and specifically one of the occupations that is supposed to be protected and have access to help all of us know what's going on, to help keep us safe, to help resolve these conflicts. And yet they're being killed at very high levels in Gaza. And not just in the early days, again, 9 in just the last few weeks. And last week, to give you one specific case study, the Israeli military bombed a press vehicle in Gaza, killing 5 journalists. That's in one specific attack. The Palestinian Journalist Syndicate condemned it as a heinous crime. That was 5 journalists all working for Al-Quds Today, a local television channel. So there are international journalists, embedded reporters from other countries that are being killed. There's also local reporters and independent reporters. And bear in mind, there's a lot of different counts for how many journalists have been killed, but most of them don't include like totally independent journalists, those who have a phone, maybe they have intermittent connection to the internet where they record videos, then upload them to TikTok. They're also doing journalistic work, and they often are not included in these because they're not technically officially journalists. And it's been very dangerous for both of these groups, Francesca. What do you think?
Well, I think what's really important to know is that actually Israel's prevented foreign journalists from entering Gaza since this war began. And where there have been, I believe CNN's gotten very, 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 very limited access to a field hospital one time. So the fact of the matter is that local journalists from Gaza, Palestinians themselves, are some of the only people that we have had to rely on. And of course, they're lumped in with being terrorists, because you're a terrorist if you simply exist in Gaza. If you're a 2-day-old baby, you're a terrorist and you will be murdered and targeted. But Israel goes even further, and they specifically and deliberately are targeting the journalists for spreading any kind of messaging. And so it is absolutely egregious, the fact that the international community, and I do know journalistic organizations have like stood up for the journalists in Gaza, but I just saying, like, in terms of mainstream news, not giving this issue its due time and accurate coverage, and not even accurately stating that they themselves have been barred from entering Gaza to see with their own eyes. And when they're only allowed, remember the Al-Shifa hospital sort of like, we're gonna take a journalist through this one little area and claim that, see that belt buckle? That belt buckle is a Hamas belt buckle, and it was used to keep someone's pants up. Anyway, like, it's all propaganda. And on top of that, it's the reason why journalists like Bissan, who really weren't even journalists, she was just a girl, a woman, young woman. She was like a vlogger living in Gaza, became a journalist, right? Because there was no one else to tell this story except Palestinians. So, but hey, that's just another day in Gaza, another war crime, and journalists are targeting them are absolutely part of war crimes. But again, this GOP and this House in the United States they'll be the human shields for Netanyahu against the International Criminal Court.
Yeah, it's just, I agree with everything you said. It's just, I mean, it's been 15, 16 months at this point, and this much violence can happen after all that time. Let alone just generalized violence against the Palestinian people. The numbers are continuing to go up. I don't know when we would have expected that there would start to be some sort of resolution or cessation of hostilities, but I don't know, doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon.
Yeah.
It's really depressing to go into another year with it. Like we started last year. We probably did a story like this January 1st, January 2nd last year. And now we're doing it again. And maybe we'll be doing it January 2nd, 2026. A depressing thought. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.